ध्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुः श्रोत्रमथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदं माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्यां मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत् अनिराकरणमस्तु अनिराकरणं मेस्तु तदात्मनि निरतेय उपनिषत्सु धर्मास्ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Om. May all my limbs attain strength. May the body, the mind, all the sensory and motor organs and the life force become powerful and perfect. All is verily the one without second, all pervading, absolute, blissful existence. May I never deny this truth of oneness of existence. May this truth never reject me either. May all the virtues necessary to experience this truth in life be with me. Om, peace, peace, peace. Let us feel this truth of oneness. Let us imagine that my ego, which causes separateness, is dissolved like a salt doll in the infinite ocean of Satchidananda Brahma, the existence itself, consciousness itself, the bliss itself. All the fictitious distinction of I and the world has vanished. In this awareness, there is no time, space, or causation. I see I am this infinite. There are no desires left, for I am everything. am bliss itself. I am the peace itself. There is no coming or going, no birth, no death. Om. Peace, peace, peace. So, dear friends, let us begin today's discussion of this wonderful scripture, Srimad Bhagavatam, which combines in it the paths of knowledge and devotion together. It brings out the highest philosophy, but it is brought in a very sweet way. There is this speciality of this literature called Purana. The highest truths are quoted in very interesting stories, and thus one takes in the story, and with that story the philosophy is taken in automatically. Like you swallow that capsule in which medicine is filled. You swallow the capsule, the medicine gets swallowed automatically. It is in that way the tough philosophies are put in these beautiful stories. And we have been reading the story, a very inspiring and educative narration, very popular in India, at least during my time as a child there. There would be hardly any little boy who has not heard the story of Dhruva. This is the Dhruva, a great devotee, and who is, for the sake of that devotion, is able to take up the proper exercise, which otherwise one would not go to do, to control the various propensities in mind, and to put the body through various austerities to reduce the ego, and thus you bring down yourself to the devotion of this God who is within us, without us. He is everything. So he practices that devotion. Oh, let us begin at the beginning. Let us have the chanting of this first mantra, which is the opening chant of the class. Janmadhyasya yatonvayaditarat Chartheshvabhinyaswarat Tene brahmhridaya adikavaye Muhyanti yat surayah Tejo varimridam yatha vinimayo Yatra trisargo mrisha Dhamna svena sada nirastakuhakam Satyam param dhimahi. That from whom creation, sustenance and dissolution of the universe take place, who is both the instrumental and material cause of it, who is omniscient, is the only one having self-mastery, being the one independent entity, who illumined the mind of Brahma with the Vedic revelation, whose wisdom is the wonder of even the greatest sages, in whom the world of the three gunas subsists just as the combination of materials like fire, water and earth subsist in their causes without changing their elemental nature, in whose consciousness there is nothing false. On that truth supreme we meditate. There is the highest value, the truth. In life, all other values are subservient to this value, the truth. And that truth, supreme, means there is the relative truth, which is true under certain circumstances, for certain person, in a given situation. So, that is the relative truth. But the supreme truth is true, irrespective of the circumstances, irrespective of the person. Truth supreme, irrespective of the times. That is the goal of life. So on that we meditate. And now let us turn to this story of Dhruva. He has been instructed by the sage Narada to go to Madhuvana, a very quiet place, vibrant with devotion on the banks of Yamuna, and practice austerities there and concentrate on God. So, and he does that. We have seen how he practiced austerities and controlled the mind and the senses. One has to bring mind and senses under control to make use of them. Otherwise, I say my mind or my senses, do I have control over it? Then only I can say they are my senses. If they are controlling me, then it is futile to say that they are my, I belong to them. That is the state of most of us. that our body controls us, mind controls us. It should be the reverse. It is not that if you are driving the car, then you should be controlling the car. The car should not control you. So this is how every instrument, it is like that it should be under the control of the user. Thus user can derive benefit from it. It is like phone, it should be in my control. I should not be in control of the phone. We know what happens when I go in control of the phone. Then I keep on playing the games. I am compelled, as it were. I become slave to it. I know I should not do that because I have other important things to do, to finish. And yet I get into that control of that phone. I become slave, like people become slave to alcohol, people become slave to various other things. So similarly, one becomes enslaved by our body and mind. It is according to these whims of mind we work, according to these what body demands, we work for that. So they are what make us slaves. And this tide, as one wants to realize the supreme truth or God, this state has to be reversed. And that is called yoga. Yoga means all our mental and physical propensities have to be reversed to make them go in the right direction. It is it has become, somehow or other, it is all moving in the wrong direction. And so we have to change that direction, and it takes efforts. That because the going in the wrong direction has become the rule, as it were. So we have to bring about that transformation. It means austerities because it creates a sense of, very troublesome, very bothersome. It is like flowing against the current, but one has to take it up. Otherwise we will be led in the wrong direction. There is a big force of the tendencies and habits which we cultivate. So Dhruva has determinedly did that practice to change the current of all these propensities, and thus he that as he was meditating on the God, the truth started revealing in his meditation. Because of his austerities, we saw the demigods, they were kind of scared that is it like a demon who wants to take all our powers, all our territories? And so they approached Vishnu. Vishnu said, no, he is not performing austerities for any of these purposes. It is so Lord assured them, saying, do not be frightened. I shall take steps to stop the practice of this unheard of austerity that has been undertaken by a certain boy, on account of whom you are experiencing this breathlessness. Dhruva, the son of Uttanapada, is meditating in a perfectly breathless state on me as one with the whole universe and himself as none other than me, that universal being. It is all are in it. And like you see a movie and everything is within the screen. The screen is the reality of all the pictures that we see in the movie. So it is the pictures, they come and go. So this seeing the reality of all these pictures, like this is a picture, this is a picture, it is a 3D movie going on. And we get stuck in it, forgetting that it is a movie. So it is not real. So I told you sometimes that incident. There was a theft here. And then the thief probably sensed that somebody is coming, left his shoes and ran. So we called the police came, and then I suggested to the police, that thief's shoes are here. You can call a dog, your police dog, and then the police dog can trace that by the smelling the shoe. And the police officer told me, that happens only in movies. That I am not going to do that. Not that it is impossible, but it costs a lot to get the police dog for this purpose. It is in case of some very big crime, murder, this, that, one can do that. You have to get the police dog, and it is not with our Providence police department. We have to summon it, and so. And he said, forget it. It is only in movies that you see these things. So in movies all that happens. It is not real. In the movies, all that. So it is. The Dhruva is meditating on the reality, the truth, beyond all these fleeting appearances. And now, Lord started going towards Dhruva. Dhruva already has God in his meditation. A very important truth about meditation is being described here. As the meditation ripens, what you have been seeing inside, meditating on, becomes your experience, and you see it with open eyes. So now you don't need meditation. So it describes here that the Lord is now anxious to see the devotee. And it is a law that if you go one step towards God, God comes 10 steps towards you. Because God is also anxious to see the devotees. So the attraction is both ways, and the more powerful one takes bigger strides. There is this attraction, God and this devotee. So now the God takes steps to appear before Dhruva, who has been calling on God, meditating on God, feeling that form of God. So what happened now? Now God can take any form. He took the form on which Dhruva was meditating. The form of God can be any, all forms are basically God's form. There is a nice story that one very good portrait painter, that portrait painter has gone to Krishna in Dwarka. Krishna was the king at that time, and he said to Krishna that I am such and such, I am a well-known portrait maker, but I have a desire to do your portrait, O Lord. Lord said, fine, okay, I will, although I am very busy, I will give you a sitting. So the Lord sat, and this portrait maker drew a sketch very carefully, meticulously. It is the Lord's sketch, and then took home to fill in colors and all that, to bring, said to Lord, next morning I will come again, all ready. And he came next morning. By that time, Lord has changed the form. So what he drew did not match now the appearance of the God. And he felt very sorry that no, my portrait came out not correct. I agree. I must have made a big mistake. One more chance, please. Lord said, okay, one more chance. Again he did the meticulous work much more carefully, and then took home to put colors, brought it all framed, and next morning again the same. And Lord in the meantime changed the form. So it again didn't match. He felt very frustrated, but said, let me give another try. It is, and so third time he did that with Lord, okay. And then again the same thing happened. Now he became really all disgusted with his life. Such a famous portrait painter, never had I met such defeat in my life. I don't want to lead this kind of life anymore. I am going to finish my life. So he went to forest to find a place where he can commit suicide. But on the way he found a saint. Saint said, what is the matter? You look so depressed. And he narrated what happened. How can I have no interest in continuing this terrible life. I am such a wonderful, acclaimed portrait maker. And here I did attempt 3 times and it didn't match. The saint said, oh, don't worry. I will tell you how to make the portrait of God. And he whispered in his ears how to make that portrait. And the portrait maker was very happy. He went to the king next day that now I have made your portrait. It is perfect, I am sure. See. And yes, Lord could not deny that it is his portrait. Everybody said, yes, it is his portrait. Because what he had taken this time was a big nice mirror. So now that is the portrait of God for sure. How can God say that no, I don't look like this? It is. Even if the God immediately changed his appearance, that will get reflected in it. So that is how he made the portrait. It is. So God can change forms. So now he decided to bless Dhruva, take up that form on which Dhruva was meditating, and that too as per instructions of Narada. Narada has told what form you should be meditating on. It is the Guru who gives the what is called the mantra, the method of meditation, and the chosen ideal on which to meditate. So all that was given to Dhruva, and he was following all that meticulously. And now the result, if you get the right directions and drive, you reach the goal. So the goal is now approaching. The Lord himself came. So it is, so now the meditation stops. When you arrive at the place that GPS declares you have arrived. So now you don't keep on driving unnecessarily. You have arrived at the goal. And you just now get out, your driving stops. So Dhruva's meditation stopped. What he was meditating upon, he could not see that form in his heart anymore. So he opened the eyes and saw that very form there. It is now being experienced directly with the senses. It is not now just meditating, but it is now something that Dhruva is experiencing, and greatly charmed by that, this Dhruva now started praising the Lord. Remember, he is a small boy with no such skills as to compose a poetry. But he therefore begins, "O Lord, it is through your wish now I am able to praise you like this." It is a small boy of say 5-6 years age. So he is now seeing the God, and he starts praising that. A very famous verse in this praise of Dhruva. The whole hymn is actually quoted in many places. This particular, the first verse, is quoted by many these preachers and those who give discourses, that it is all the Lord who is inspiring this. It is not me, it is the Lord. He is inspiring my thoughts, my mind, my speech, all. Yo antapravishya mama vachamimam prasuptam sanjeevatyakhilas shaktidhara swadhamna anyascha hastakarana shravanatvakvagadin pranan namo bhagavate purushaya tubhyam. Dhruva spontaneously said, "Salutations to the Divine Being, the possessor of the divine majesties, who having entered my heart, has quickened my dormant limbs, senses, and vital powers, and has presently awakened the power of speech, with which I can express myself in this hymn." It is, Dhruva is very conscious that without being awakened by God, our faculties don't function. It requires the quickening, the awakening, the supply of power is needed. Otherwise, it doesn't work. If you do not have you start the car, but and then it gets started, the engine is started, but then you have to put it in the proper gear to get that power move into the various parts of the car, and then the wheels get activated. Otherwise the wheels don't move. So our body, we speak, and since it is so natural to us, we don't realize that there is an activation that happens. This activation is the grace of God. We forget that. It is remembered only when that activation goes away due to, say, a paralytic attack. Now the limbs as such are intact, but they cannot be now being used. All there, that it is all now their powers, whatever is in the limbs, and now there is no activation, and so they are not being used, cannot be used. So everywhere the God activates, and this lump of, say, flesh, blood, bones, and this is all that, it is what something has to activate it to make it move, to function. Otherwise it is only a skeleton with some flesh attached to it. It is not working like that when orthopedician's office was being shifted from one place to a nearby place, and so everything was getting shifted. And they usually have a skeleton of human being. A skeleton was there in a glass case. So somebody had put it on the cart and was moving. And then as on the sidewalk, as that person was taking it in the cart, somebody asked, where is this being taken? And this man pushing the cart replied, to the doctor's office. And this woman said, well, you may take, but I think it is rather too late for that. So it is it's not going to move anymore, it is too late. So it is all these things are there, but that activation is happening due to God. When that power is withdrawn, the fellow is considered dead. Now all those limbs you can see, but the eyes don't see, the mouth doesn't speak, the hands and feet do not move. It is thus the entry of God that makes all this work. And Dhruva has become now so aware of it, and says that thus even this praise that I am doing is possible because of your activation of my power of speech. And then he started saying, it's a very philosophically rich and aesthetically of great beauty, this prayer or the hymn, the praise that Dhruva is doing for the God. He says there that, look, anxious to praise, it is my salutations to the Supreme Being. And he said all that we read earlier. Though thou art one without a second, thou hast through thy infinite power of Maya, constituted of the three gunas, projected all the categories from Mahat down. That is how we see the sequence in this creation in Maya. Nothing is being created. Actually, nothing is happening. It is just a projection. But in the projection now there is a sequence how it proceeds. Now there is logic. There is no logic how one becomes many, how God creates. There is no logic to that. But then once that is accepted, now logic is part of the creation. There is no logic before creation. It is so, you cannot ask how the creation came about. There is no how, why, when. Time is not there. When we ask the question, when did it happen? We already take existence of time for granted. We take that existence of time granted to such an extent that we feel that time must be existing. Even for God is the bondage of time. No, there is no time. In a great hymn in Rigveda, there is this description. That hymn is called Nasadiya Suktam. There is this, that there was neither ought nor ought not. There is nothing existing or non-existing. What was there then? Means it is a question to say that how can anybody say? Nothing. There was no time, no space. That in that state, they somehow, appearance came. Nothing, this is, the creation and does not entail any labor on God. Oh, God is making creation, so has to do lot of work. Such big creation, making these galaxies and black holes, right down to the minute virus on the earth. Everything that God has to make, so must be a very difficult and time-consuming and laborious work. When I am making only a small porch in my house, it takes so much of labor, so much of work, it takes time. So God also must have to work hard, and so in Jewish and Christian theology, there is therefore God worked hard for 6 days, and 7th day he decided to take rest. It is all like what we do, we work, those days it was only 1 day in a week, 6 days work, 1 day break, holiday, rest day. But now we have changed it to 5 days of work and 2 days of break. So it is, plus there are long weekends and so forth, like this one. So, but Lord is only one day was given in the biblical stories. But the God actually doesn't do any work. It never gets tired. No work has been done by God. It is just by the wish of the God, if you call that wish. It just has appeared, that's all. And that did not change God at all. Without any change, this has happened. Vedanta therefore calls it superimposition, not creation. What is this superimposition? like our nun was in Ridgely Manor, a wonderful place where Vivekananda stayed for 10 months, 10 weeks. So, for 10 weeks Vivekananda was staying there. So, a very holy place, very vibrant with that presence of Vivekananda. Even now one can feel that. So, she was returning from some place back and stopped because she saw that there is a bear there. It is a somewhat wooded area, and the sighting of bear is not very uncommon there. So she saw a bear and so stopped the car, wanted the bear to move and then come. It is the right of way is always with the bears, you see. So it is, she stopped, and then the bear wasn't moving. So from the other side a car came, and in that light she saw that it is a log of wood that appeared like bear. Now this creation of bear from the log of wood did not undergo any change whatsoever, and yet the bear got created. In fact, that must have caused some fast palpitation of her heart. Oh, what will happen if the bear decides to attack? And then, so all those feelings come. But all the while there was this log of wood alone. So similarly, God alone, that supreme existence alone is, nothing really happened. And we see this world on that. It is just a manifestation of God, just like a movie on the screen, that's it. That does not cause any change to the screen. So exactly like that. So Dhruva is aware of that, and so he says that by thy grace alone could the great creator Brahma could make this universe. It is thy grace, and now it is a secondary creation. God's creation, we saw this in Bhagavatam, it is the primary creation, the inspiring the Brahma. In that there is no other process involved, and no materials are to be procured. But when Brahma is now making all the planning, the sequence, all that is there, and we saw in Bhagavatam that Brahma started but made initially some mistakes also, because had no experience. So trial and error, Brahma did some trial and error. Let us try this if it works, if not let us try if that works. And so there were a few starts, and the Brahma's creation proceeded. Now in that Brahma's, this secondary creation, all the cause effect is there. As you sow, so you reap. Karma is there, that it is, you pay for what you do, what you get. So Dhruva said, but it is all under your inspiration, your guidance, without doing anything. You didn't do anything, and yet it is happening. That is the symbolic meaning of the image of Vishnu that one sees, reclining on this that big snake, and doing nothing, as it were, just by his so-called wish. The universe comes into existence, remains, and is dissolved back. Nothing there is real. So he describes that. And so what is the goal of life? It is to realize the supreme truth. Instead of getting lost in this creation, realize the Creator. Sri Ramakrishna used to say that, look, a magician shows lot of things in the magic. They are not real. The magician is real. What show comes, it is all just mesmerism. It is one gets hypnotized by seeing. It is good to see the magic shows. Sometimes one should see. Have you seen any magic show, Pranav? Yeah. You get deceived, isn't it? Yeah. It at least makes us realize that we get cheated. Although all these things in the world appear to be real, they are actually not real. They are fleeting, coming and going. There is somebody appears and then is gone. It appears, stays for a little while. That is again, that also changing. It is like the wave rising and falling, coming and going. So one tries to see what is the meaning of this living. It is to realize the source, the God. So Dhruva says, how can a man of spiritual understanding then forget thee, O friend of the afflicted, who art the source of the intelligence and power of Brahma himself, and whose feet constitute the sole shelter for those who seek salvation. They indeed are lost, and this is what I have put here. They indeed are lost souls who approach thee, a veritable wish-fulfilling tree that can bestow even the liberation from the cycle of birth and death. For mean sensual satisfactions of this cadaverous body. The body is a corpse, It is getting there, that because it actually is just a corpse. It is because of the wish of God, it is moving about, functioning, consuming and throwing out. All those functions are going on. But just as you see, when you do not see any need of it, and God doesn't see any need, cannot see a purpose that it is going to fulfill, withdraws. And then you see the fellow has died. It is, this is not, I am not going into the details of this discussion, but here Dhruva makes a point that you ask for something which is not befitting a human being who is endowed with this capability of discerning what is right and what is not right, what is our goal, and so forth, can direct the life. It is not an instinctive life like animals. The animals have instinctive life. It is just the, it is whatever signal, they respond to that signal. And the life is limited to that running after food, protecting oneself and propagating. So human beings, they can do it, that if they are also doing the same thing, then they are just animals. Only the problem is in animal life, at least they would have been able to do that well. Swami Vivekananda says in Inspired Talks, a very nice book, that to go after the sensual pleasures alone in this life is a wastage. And why wastage? Because at least you could have eaten better in say a body of a pig. What you don't have known a pig which has several allergies. Human beings means all allergies are there, and also there are the problems are there. Oh, I may be adding too much of cholesterol. Oh, my metabolism is not that fast. All these difficulties, you cannot eat much in a human body. And if you have that desire, better it would have been to take a pig's body who can eat a lot. It is never, whatever food it is finished. So that is how the pig is. It would have been nice if you had become pig then. A human body has a different function. So he says they are really terrible. So it is. Then another part in this is that he says the prayer is long. We are not taking every stanza, every word of this. So, but he ends this prayer with these words, that I take refuge in thee, the all-inclusive and infinite being, the source of all, one without a second, complete and perfect, in whom all opposites are reconciled. All opposites are in this world. There is the joy and there is the misery. All are they are combined. You do something, nobody does anything to get misery. But what you end up getting, you have done it to get joy, and it stands to reason that you will get joy, but what you get is misery. It is a terrible that situation, that all these are opposites, but they are in our life. Our life is caught in these irreconcilable opposites. But in God, everything is reconciled. In that oneness, all these opposites, they dissolve. It is otherwise, it is all opposite. It comes together, It is said that in the existence, it is in the particle physics, sometimes these ideas are given that how things got in. There is from nothing, as it were, from zero. And zero can be put, I am making it very simple, bereft of technicalities. And zero can be shown as the sum of 1 and minus 1. Zero is 1 together with minus 1 becomes 0. So from nothing, a positively charged particle called positron comes, and a negatively charged particle, electron, that comes. Now, like that, the combining and recombining of the opposite particles, they keep on coming. And thus, you see, these are now, where do they reconcile? In the beginning, in that nothingness, everything gets reconciled. Otherwise, there is no reconciliation for that. So, this is the prayer. And then, at the end of the prayer now, Lord says, very good, I am going to give you a boon. He is not asking that boon, but Lord is knowing his mind. So, we shall discuss that in next Friday's class. A very interesting idea. Today's time is finished, so we will not take it up today. We shall conclude with our closing chant, and after that, if you have any questions, please feel free to voice them, people here as well as in the web. निगमकल्पतरुर्गलितं फलं शुकमुखादमृतद्रवसंयुतं पिबत भागवतं रसमालयं मुहुर्मुहुः रसिका भुवि भावुकाः. O devotees, quaff, quaff to intoxication this nectar of the fruit of the three Vedas, flowing from the mouth of the great sage Shuka and mixed with the ambrosia from his words. Any question? Anybody has any question? No question here. Any question on the web?
Yes.
Okay, please read it out clearly.
First question is from Mandodari Lakshman. How did Lord Krishna realize Brahman without performing austerity?
Lord Krishna realized Brahman. Now there are, the answer is twofold. And Lord Krishna is incarnation of God. So he always had realized that, being incarnation of God. But still, Lord Krishna performed lot of austerities also. So both these things, the austerities were performed by him. If you read his description when he went to the Guru's house, so he served the Guru with one-pointed devotion and also performed many austerities there. So not that he did not perform austerities at all, but it is true that his performance of austerities is just to give an example. It is like this, the great Saint Jnaneshwar says, it is an incarnation does this, these austerities or sadhana, just to show, like a teacher in, say, kindergarten, to teach A, B, C, D to little child, takes a pencil and himself writes, look how I am writing A, come on, hold the pencil, like this, and then this is how you do the A. Now the teacher is writing A, B. The teacher does not need it for herself or himself, but it is for the sake of that little one who wants to learn. He also takes that slate and pencil to teach. So that is how the spiritual practice of incarnations like Krishna is. Any other question?
Yes, there are two more questions. Second question is from Kedar Damle. If creation is spontaneous based on causation, then why is my present life based on if creation is spontaneous without causation,
yes,
then why is my present life based on my past karma, which is based on causation?
Yes, very good question. I'm actually told about it that there is no causation initially. But once you get into this, then all the cause, effect, everything, the sequencing begins It is the part of our existence. And again you see the causation is so different for different beings. Human causation is one thing, and again that, what appears to be very logical in the waking state doesn't appear to be logical in the dream. And in dream one sees all those very funny things. In the dream they appear to be very logical, consistent. When you wake up, you see the illogical nature of it. So, in the realization of God, there is no cause and effect. It cannot be that the result of your sadhana is not God realization. And don't think that by the sadhana you will realize God. But you have to do sadhana to purify yourself. That is the purpose and limitation of sadhana. You realize God because you actually are that. It is now there is no law of causation. Law of causation is in this creation. It is that you see, like in a drama, in a play. In a drama, suppose you commit a certain crime. In the drama, now the sequence will follow, and you will be tried for that crime, and you will be punished. Okay, you have this 6 months sentence, to serve 6 months sentence. So it is now, all this is sequential in that play. Actually that person does not commit any crime and does not get tried for it. It is all in the play. So our true nature never gets soiled. It is all in this play that we are born, we become, this educated, we do certain good things, we commit certain bad things, and we get some rewards for the good things, and we get punished also for the bad things that we do. It is all in this play. While actually that actor has not done anything, has not done the crime, is not going to get punishment. It is all is in that play. So similarly, it is an assumed identity. Our real identity is divine. Nothing is there, no creation is there. Like it is the creation is like superimposition. And so this causation is not in that. Causation is when now you are seeing multiplicity, now there is causation within multiplicity. There is no causation that between how the one becomes many. There is no causation involved in that. There is no sequence involved in that. It is just appearance. Can you ever say that how that log of wood became a bear? It did not become bear, so how can you explain how it became bear? It didn't become bear. So that is how this idea is to be understood. Any other question?
3 other questions.
3 other questions, my goodness. Oh, do we have time for that? Okay, please read, at least read quickly.
Okay. From Suchita Gule.
Okay.
If everything that we see or hear is Maya, Is then the darshan of the Lord with naked eyes also a maya?
Ah, well, if this is all maya and not real, then the vision of the God is also that. You are perfectly right, you know. This is also maya. Sri Ramakrishna used to say there is the avidya maya, the maya that entangles you more and more in this, and the maya like the vision of God is vidya maya, that it frees you from it. So the freeing maya and entangling maya, so that is how the two are different. Yes?
Okay. From Jyoti Champaneka. Pranam Swamiji, in the story of the painter trying to paint Lord Krishna's portrait, what does bringing a mirror signify?
What is the?
What does bringing a mirror signify?
What is the?
Okay.
What does it signify? Mirror. What does the mirror signify? Mirror signifies that you have to worship God as God is. You don't try to make a portrait of God. That is, you cannot make really an image of God. You have to just see the God as the God is. There is no particular image that you can make of. That is the lesson of it. That is why in these Judaic, Judo-Christian and Islam, they said don't make an image of God. You are actually distorting God by making an image. Hindus also take the image as a symbol rather than that being the how the God looks. Otherwise you will see the variety of images. It is like that. Okay?
Yes. Last question.
Oh, there is still last question. Okay.
Rohan Saxena. Namaste Swamiji.
Namaste Rohan.
We have competitive job market and our spiritual life. Both demands too much time. How to manage? I'm failing to manage both. Please guide.
Well, this is a very commonly asked question, and that we are in this competitive world. So how to balance the pulse of the world and then the pulse of the spiritual life? Both take a lot of time. Actually, you have to prioritize the life. If you become spiritual, automatically the other things will fall in place. I assure you. Our Swami once told, one Swami, he was asked by a very, very big businessman in this competitive world that, how much time will I have to spend in meditation? The Swami replied, minus 1.5 hour. Minus 1.5 hour. He heard only, he didn't hear minus. 1.5 hour is too much. I can't spare that much time. The Swami said, I didn't say 1.5 hour. I said minus 1.5 hour. What does it mean? He said, if you meditate for half an hour, your efficiency will increase so much that you will be able to do the work in 2 hours less time. So your net is you gained 1.5 hours. Half an hour you invested in meditation, but then that made you complete your work in 2 hours less time. So you gained 1.5 hour. And that is true. By removing the clutter by spiritual life, by putting things in proper perspective, by looking at your needs, and your greeds, separate them, and thus you will see what needs to be done, and that gets helped by what is called spiritual life. Actually, there are no two lives. It is just going in the right direction or going in the wrong direction. So that is how it is, Rohan. So, okay then, we shall conclude with the closing this bhajan dhun. मुकुंद माधव गोविंद बोल, केशव माधव हरि हरि बोल. मुकुंद माधव गोविंद बोल, केशव माधव हरि हरि बोल. हरि हरि बोल, हरि हरि बोल, हरि हरि बोल, हरि हरि बोल. कृष्ण कृष्ण बोल, कृष्ण कृष्ण बोल. मुकुंद माधव गोविंद बोल, केशव माधव हरि हरि बोल. केशव माधव हरि हरि बोल.